Hey guys, my name is Big Tito and welcome back to From the Decks. And welcome to the creative mode. In this mode, what we're going to be doing is building a new ship, something that's a little bigger, because in the campaign, we've managed to get a good bit of resource, at least enough to build something that I think should be stronger than the Pathfinder, something that can take a little bit more of a punch, and maybe dish out one as well. So I still don't want to go crazy with it. I'd like to stick to the 35,000 resource limit, just so that I can build it pretty quickly in the campaign without having to just sit around and wait for resources to come in. Now, in my head, I've got something that's of medium size, and I want it to have something like a hammerhead shape. I'm thinking two kind of short-range cannons on the front with some armor, and then it kind of narrows in to go back. Maybe add a larger cram cannon turret behind and above them, and then work my way back from there. Still gonna be a little shy of missiles, just because they're so expensive now. I don't want to make this thing double the cost, essentially, by adding a missile battery to it. If there's space, both in terms of volume and in terms of material cost, I may add some torpedoes to this, but we'll just have to see. So for now, let me get into the building of it, and I'll come back when I have something to report on. Alright, so this is the progress I've made so far. This is the hammerhead I was thinking of. I've got two of these little, they work sort of like mortars. They're slow firing, well, fairly quick firing, but slow velocity shell, so that they can lob them at a pretty reliable rate, and then they just kind of explode. I will do a bit more decorating of this when the ship itself is built. And the ship itself is not going to be this wide for the whole way through, because it would be very, very expensive. What I've done is I've made a very layered armored section here that's not too expensive, because it's mostly wood with a little bit of metal padding around. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to taper back in towards a thinner body here, and this is where the rest of the ship will go. I know the hammerhead's quite large, so... and I don't want to make the rest of the ship super long. And I also want to make sure I get the shape right, because I feel like a shape like this could go very wrong, and I don't want that. So this is the progress so far. I will be back when I have a little bit more made. Alright, so I've made a bit more progress here. I've added on another section. This is where I'm going to put what will probably be the main gun of this ship, this little box right here. And what I've done is I've essentially made a double layer of wooden armor here, because wooden's pretty cheap, and then I've just sort of latticed it with metal. And lining something completely with metal like this is obviously totally doable, but it's also a lot more expensive and heavy. And this thing is already probably going to need some internal rotors, at least at the front, in order to keep it balanced. So I want to watch both the weight and the cost. But because these are latticed in the opposite direction of the wooden armor, so the wooden armor is going horizontally, the metal is going vertically, these metal beams do help to increase the armor of the wood in front of them. So hopefully this section here will be at least a little protected. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to carve out a little hole just in the center of this part here, and then I'm going to build a turret, probably a cram cannon. Again, I'm not a huge fan of cram cannons, but I do want to be trying new things. So I'll be putting a cram cannon right here. Now, so far, our cost is about 18,000, which is the price of a Pathfinder, which I think means we're pretty well on track. There's not going to be a whole lot more to this ship. It's only going to go back a little bit more than this. And hopefully we can keep it to that 35,000 point realm. So let me carve out a hole here, and then I can get to building the cram cannon. Okay, made a little progress here. We've gone ahead and built the cram cannon for it. Pretty pleased with how this look has turned out. Again, you know, I have mixed feelings about cram cannons, but I do like the fact that it's just a big honkin' cannon. Something that shoots out just a really big shell and has a massive explosion, even if it's not, you know, the most efficient sort of gun in the world. So I've got this turret all done, and we're sitting at about 29,000 materials, which means I'm a little worried we may go a little bit over budget when I start to put in all the internal gubbins. Thankfully, this thing is not going to need a very powerful engine because it's not going to have shields or anything like that. But I guess it's to no surprise that it is going to go a little bit over budget, but hopefully not too much. I'm absolutely not going to let this thing cost 40,000 materials. It's going to be below that. So if I have to start taking some things away in order for that to happen, I will do so. So all that's left really is I'm going to make another compartment back here that's going to be pretty heavily armored. And I'll maybe make some form of small bridge there. And then underneath we'll have most of the internal stuff spread into smaller compartments. Pretty happy with how this thing is looking so far. I'm hoping that I can have enough material left to have a basic flare system set up. Because again, that helps a lot versus missiles, but since, you know, the cheapest missile is going to be like basically 1,000 materials, that may not happen. I've gone ahead and abandoned any hope of having torpedoes on this thing. So I think for right now, we're going to call the weapons done. I may add a very small rapid-fire advanced cannon to the back of this thing just so that it can fight aircraft. But otherwise, yeah, I think for the most part, the offensive capabilities of this thing will be the 3 guns here. Alright, let me get back to it, and I will return when there's a bit more progress. Alright, I think this is just about done. I will need to add a few things, like I'm going to round off the bottom and make a little keel so this thing's center of mass is a little lower. I need to put the propulsion on, work on the back just a little bit, but I think this thing is mostly done. And yeah, I'm feeling decent enough about it. It definitely looks like a brawler. It looks like something that's going to take a punch and give it right back. So let me finish putting on all the little finishing touches, things like that. I may do a little bit of decorating to the front here. I don't like how flat and bland that front bit is. So let me round off a few things, and next time I'm back, we will test this thing in action. So see you in a minute. Alright, I think we have a product finished enough for testing, at least. Feeling pretty good about it. So it's got 2 huge propellers on the back. It also has a propeller on each side of the hammerhead, and the corresponding propeller turns off when it's trying to turn. So like the one on the left here, this one turns off when it's trying to turn left. And so it's getting some extra thrust from the right in order to turn pretty quickly. That means that it turns very quickly. However, this thing is a chunk and does not move very quickly. But I haven't tested this thing in action yet. I would like to see how it performs. And I'm sure as soon as I test it, there will be some glaring flaws to it. But let's take a look. Other than that, the only thing I need to do is go through and add some repair bots to this thing. I don't like to go overboard with repair bots, but it should have some just so it can repair itself outside of combat. Alright, let's throw it against a Marauder and see how it does. Alright. I like how those mortars are doing. The main gun here does not seem to be firing. Still, I like those mortars. Let me take the Marauder away real quick, and I can figure out what's going on with this thing. It does have a local weapon controller. It is receiving signal. Let's maybe take that down a little bit. Let's try it again. Once again, liking how those mortars look. Let's see here. I have done something wrong, clearly. Alright, I see. The problem is that this turret is unable to turn. So I've built this thing a little too packed in there. So give me just a minute to fix that, and then we'll be back for another test. Okay, problem solved. Let's try this again. We'll see how this this cannon setup works. Throw it up against a Marauder. I did just spawn this cannon back in, so it may be that it needed a little more time to reload. Still, those mortars are doing some serious work on this Marauder. Here come the cram cannon shells. And they missed. It's one of those reasons why I'm just not a huge fan of cram cannons in general. It's a decent hit. I think what I'm probably going to do is just go ahead and make the cram cannons fully explosive. They do right now have some hardener pellets in them, which give them a little more kinetic damage. But I think probably I would be better served with just a high explosive shell. That was a good hit there. Did a lot of damage to the front. Yeah, interestingly, these small mortars seem to be doing the most work. Although that was a good hit there. And they can keep up their rate of fire for a while, too. Now, the mortars do use belt-fed loaders, which means they need a little bit of time to reload once they run out of ammo. And since the cram cannon fires every, looks like 13 seconds or so, it means this thing has some good burst damage, even if it's not going to do, you know, a ton of sustained damage. Now, what I've got in this ship in terms of power right now is two small steam engines that are set to very low, so they don't actually consume materials in order to run. Now, from the looks of it, that's not quite enough to run this thing forever, even though it'll run it for a good long while before it needs to burn anything. So what I've done is I've set up some control blocks to where when this thing gets low on energy, it cranks the steam boilers up a bit so that they put out a lot more power at the cost of some materials. So over the course of a long fight, this thing will use some materials in order to function, but that's sort of par for the course. it's pretty hard to get a ship to run for free unless you use a lot of RTGs, and RTGs are very expensive. So let me do a little more tweaking on this ship, and then next time you see me, we'll just dive right back into the campaign. And we are back in the campaign. So we do need to gather up a few more resources in order to build our new frigate. So I'm going to continue fighting some of these guys. It looks like they have several fleets coming in to attack me anyway, which is just fine. And it looks like this is actually an air fleet. There are 5 Drakes. So what I want to do is I want to put our airships up against theirs without the Pathfinders. So I'll have the Pathfinders hold here against them, and I'm going to grab my 3 Hippogriffs, and we're going to go engage those Drakes and see how we do. So a Drake, it looks like, is only about 6,000 materials, whereas a Hippogriff is at 11,000, but it is 5 on 3, so I think we're just about even for that.
Moving out.
So let's get a little closer, and let's see how this goes. I'm fairly pleased with my Hippogriffs, even if they are kind of squishy. And by kind of squishy, I mean you can sneeze at them wrong and they will explode. But I think we should be able to handle some Drakes. But I guess we're about to find out. Okay, there are the Drakes. The Hippogriff missiles already coming in. It looks like some of the cannons are just tearing them apart. Alright, yeah, these guys aren't going to stand up for very long against the Hippogriffs. Looks like 2 of them are already down, the rest are crippled. So this will just be a matter of us finishing them off. Picking on some fallen Drakes here. Looks like 1 Drake is still in the air, although we've taken out enough of it to where it's very unbalanced. The rest have been destroyed. So as soon as we come back around for another pass, this thing should... Oh, there it goes. Alright. That was pretty easy. Looks like we have built a plane that is good enough to take on the Deepwater Guard planes. At least their light ones. Okay. I don't think I took... Nope, didn't take any damage there.
Moving out.
So let's reunite our fleet so that we can take on this one here. Looks like they've got a Corsair, a Coyote, a Drake, and a Water Buffalo. We've seen all of those except for the Corsair. The Water Buffalo I remember being pretty sturdy with its little cannon, or its larger cram cannon. But I'm feeling pretty good about taking it on. Oh, and they've got another fleet here with a Frantic Chicken, 2 Drakes, and a Shuriken. We'll give the Deepwater Guard this. They do know how to send a lot of things against us. Let's get a little closer. I don't think we're going to be able to avoid fighting all of these guys at once, but I don't think that'll be too much of a problem. Yep. Okay. Let's have our Pathfinders. Again, with all the land in this area, it's going to be tricky to get these things to operate without, you know, running aground. But I will leave their engines on for now, just so they're not completely sitting ducks. Looks like the Deepwater Guard does just about double our force count. But I'm not overly worried, just because our ships have been doing so well against the Deepwater Guard so far. Everyone's on combat mode. Looks like one of the drakes is already going down. Pathfinders are focusing on the ships, while the hippogriffs are focusing on their planes, which is exactly what I want to see. A lot of incoming fire towards this hippogriff, looks like from the frantic chicken. Those things do have some pretty nasty cannons on them. Nasty, at least in terms of the early game. Those chicken shoulder Gatling cannons, which not something I think I would normally say. Oh, looks like we have hippogriffs going down. That's not good. They have not taken a ton of damage, but they have taken enough to drop them, it looks like. Now, these guys can repair, so hopefully they can repair enough to get back into the fight, because it doesn't look like our Pathfinders are doing particularly well here. We do still have one hippogriff in the air. The other two, again, are not badly damaged, but they are just damaged enough. They're not sturdy enough to be able to take some hits like the Pathfinder can without going down. If they're hit in the right spot, they just go down. Looks like one of our Pathfinders is repaired enough to fly, though it does not have any balloons to get it out of the water. But it can fire its missiles at least. Some good internal damage on this water buffalo here. It looks like we've stripped its main cannon off, or we haven't stripped it off, but we've damaged it. So that hopefully it won't be too much of a threat anymore. Another drake goes down. And I do want to finish off this water buffalo before I tell my ships to focus fire on the frantic chicken, which is, I think, the next biggest threat. Mostly because that crane cannon, when it hits, is pretty powerful. Of course, we see our Pathfinder armor reflecting that. Okay, looks like we have two hippogriffs back in the air now. That's good. Hippogriffs only have, I think, 3 or 4 repair bots on them. It's just that they don't have much to repair. And it looks like they have downed the frantic chicken. So now I think we're just wrapping this up. We did take some damage, but then they did double our force count. So I'm not too surprised there. Pathfinder radar is nice because it's cheap and it's an easy way to get some detection systems onto the ship, but it's also so fragile. It just goes down very quickly. This hippogriff, rather, is repaired, and it's struggling still to try to get up out of the water. I should add balloons to these things. I think the next iteration of the hippogriff will have some balloons on it so that when they do drop into the water, they can get back out again. Once again, the water buffalo taking a whole lot of hits. Now, this thing, is this the Corsair? I think this is the Corsair. Seems to be pretty well equipped, even though I have damaged it a good bit. I think I've destroyed its detection systems because its cannon is not really able to lock on to us very well. But it does have those missiles, which could be a threat, although it looks like the hippogriffs are mostly able to ignore them, or avoid them. Alright, water buffalo is 2 damaged. We should now be focusing on the Corsair. Yep, here come the hippogriff missiles. Looked like a big internal explosion there. I knocked something out. Oh, this poor little hippogriff. Its autocannons can aim at it, at least. Kind of. The recoil of those little autocannons is spinning it around. It looks like the Corsair, that is what it is, right? Yes, the Corsair is mostly out of this fight. The Shuriken and the Coyote, still at very high health, they're just not much of a threat. Oh, something hit us, and I just lost a Hippogriff. Yep, it looks like something shot this poor guy here in the AI. Yeah, poor thing. They do rely pretty heavily on not being there when the enemy attacks, and being in the water doesn't make that easy. Alright, I think this is the red tuna, and I think these guys drop very quickly. They're just a little raft with a missile on it. AI dead already. And now for the Shuriken. Again, with its cool missile turret. I do like the fact that they've made this sort of a hovercraft type thing, or a watercraft with the big propeller on the back, even if it is pretty fragile. Okay, that went pretty well. We took some damage, but we were able to come back from it. Definitely need to put some balloons on the hippogriffs. That would be nice. They just need to get enough out of the water so their thrusters can turn back on and get them back into the air. Alright, I'll gather the fleet up, I'll let them reload, and I'll be back for some more combat. Hopefully pretty soon we can build our new frigate. Alright, be back in a minute. And we're under attack again, or we're moving into a Deepwater Guard territory tile, and they're coming at us. Sledge and a scrapper. I don't think we've seen either of these, but they're both very low cost, so I'm not too concerned. Looks like they actually have another little fleet back here that has also joined this, though. I have an Atlas retrofit, a Sky Viper, and a Hoplite. Let's get our guys in position. Hopefully we don't fly into mountains. Again, this is kind of narrow territory here. I do like using submarines, and submarines are very, very good against the Deepwater Guard because they really don't have much of a counter to them. The only thing is, most of the Deepwater Guard territory is in really shallow water, so you can't use submarines, because they'll just hit the ground. Alright, let's see what we're up against. I'm guessing this is the Scrapper. I think that was the one in front. Pretty cool looking. Another of these watercraft with the propellers on the back. The Sledge looks just about like anything else, any of the other Deepwater Guard little things. A couple of little missiles on the front. Atlas retrofit. We've seen the Atlas several times. I'm not entirely sure what makes the retrofit different from the regular Atlas. Oh, there's the little Sky Viper and the Hoplite. Alright, I'm not too concerned. Hippogriff missiles going straight for the Atlas. Big explosion there. Parts of the Atlas are just crushing off. It looks like it has lost control. And now it is showing us its neck. So that shouldn't take too long to take down. Oh yeah, I can take the HUD off. Okay, looks like the Scrapper is coming right up on us. Enough to ram into us, although since we're made out of metal and it's made out of wood, I think we kind of won that. Looks like, what is this? The Sky Viper? I think that's the Sky Viper, has dropped. The Hoplite is probably not long for this world. All of our Hippogriffs still in the air. Missiles from the Pathfinders coming up to continue picking on the Atlas retrofit. And just about getting there. Some good hits on that. Cord straight through this thing. Of course, it is still the biggest ship in the air, or in the fight, and so everything is still focusing on it. I guess it is still shooting at us, so that does make sense. And down it goes into the water, where the Pathfinder cannons can hit it. That's good. I would make these guys target other things, but it doesn't look like much else is a threat. I think we've knocked out whatever is controlling the Scrapper, and also most of the Scrapper itself. And in fact, I'm going to hop onto... Oh, no, never mind. I was going to try to capture that Scrapper, get some extra resource, but it blew up. Probably not worth a ton of resource anyway. And now we're just finishing these guys off. Pathfinder once again doing very well against these lightly armored Deepwater Guard targets. These guys are going to be absolutely useless against the heavily armored targets of the Onyx Watch, which will be the next faction that we fight. But for now, they should do us pretty well, and they have been. That thing's AI must be tucked somewhere nice and deep. Is it too damaged? It is. There we go. Okay. Does not look... Oh, one of our hippogriffs looks like took a little bit of damage, but I believe it's still in the air. Yep, all three hippogriffs are still in the air, so that's good. I guess there are places where they can get hit and not take damage, or not go down. And look at that. Looks like there is a resource zone right there. That looks like the perfect place to swoop in and take enough resource for us to build our new frigate. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to repair these guys up, let them reload. We'll go in, we'll take that resource zone, and then we'll call the episode there. And in the next episode, I should have our new frigate. And it should also be named. So be right back once we are attacking the outpost. And we're back. Looks like this Deepwater Guard outpost is a little better defended. It is called the Fishing Hole, and it's worth 32,000 materials. Unfortunately, our Pathfinders got a little behind here, not living up to their names. But they should still be able to join the fight pretty well. Alright, let's get into it. Destroy this. Thanks for letting me know, game. I wouldn't have thought of that myself. We are very far away from the fishing hole, but already doing lots of damage to it. I see blocks just chunking off. What are you? Oh, that's a cool little base there. Isn't that the base that you get at the start of the Onyx Watch campaign? If you play the that one where you play the Deepwater Guard against the Onyx Watch, I think that's what that is. I like it a lot, even if it is not particularly well defended. And if... Oh, come on, guys, don't get hit by that. Oh, man. That was a good shot. One of the hippogriffs going down from the big cannon on the fishing hole. Now, I may try to capture this thing, just because it's worth enough resources for us to very easily build our new frigate. And there's its AI right there. Oh, I did not hop on. Let's... There we go. Oh, oh, all over the place. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn our ships off. Ooh, it's actually very high up into the water, or out of the water. Hopefully we can capture this thing. Whee! Pardon the machine gun noises here. Is this its AI? It's part of its AI. Yep, that's the AI. That's it. So we meet again. River Rat, look at you. You've gone and made yourself almost into a man. Got a bit of scruff on your chin, you do. Now, I know what you be thinking. Thinking here's your chance to get your family home back and a bit of revenge while you're at it. But I must warn you, I've learned so much from these shiny technologies on that old boat that I've applied them to my own prowler. You best just run along now if you know it's good for you. So this refers to the tutorial campaign, which is several missions. It's a lot of fun, but it's all linear stuff that's really just to teach you how the game works. And the story here is that you play, your character is called River Rat, and you join the Deepwater Guard to be a pirate. Then they send you out on a mission, and while you're on a mission, they steal your boat that has your family on it, and you get marooned on the base that you start with in the Neater campaign. Okay, so I assume that means, oh, yep, here comes, what I can only guess is going to be the Prowler. Let's go ahead and just destroy this thing so that I can get the resources from it. Alright, that's a lot of resources there. And it looks like they are attacking us. The Prowler worth 77,000 materials. It's got the Wanderlust, which is worth 42, and a Felix Flagger B5 Geyer, which was just a guess on how to pronounce that, worth 14. So this battle could go very, very wrong for us, and I'm tempted to just sacrifice that Hippogriff there so that the rest of the group can get away. Let's actually do that. We're going to sacrifice the Hippogriff, fall back here, and we're going to build one of our new ships. No, you don't need to go there. Alright. Our new ship, or rather the Hippogriff, is going to fight all on its own, and apparently it was the damaged Hippogriff. Which could not even get out of the water. Poor thing. Yeah, these things have a lot of good weapons to fight against the Hippogriffs. They have those autocannons there. I believe the Prowler has some missiles on it. I know the Wanderlust has some missiles on it, because we've fought 2 of those things already, yeah. So I definitely want to get my new, bigger ship in before we fight this big fleet here. Alright, yeah, we've lost.
Airborne at your service.
Alright, so with that, I'm going to call the episode here as we run away with our tail between our legs. In the next video, I will have built our new ship and named it, hopefully, and we'll be coming back here to fight that big fleet. Get our revenge. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.